tip for any short-term rental owner or Airbnb guy in this case. If you build your properties in such a way that you attract like-minded people to yourself, then you also know what he or she will expect or what he or she will like or dislike, right? And you can play with it when you set up your property. So you can say, okay, I set up a property, it's just to make money, and that's one way to think about it. Of course, we want as much profit as possible, but if you then start building it in such a way that it suits your lifestyle as well, then you know, okay, if those guys are a bit like me, they probably would need this at that moment of their stay, or they like to be I don't know, they don't like to be disturbed at a certain moment of the day, or they want some recommendation of this type and that type of restaurant, right? I mean, if you build a property which is on the high end side of the short-term rentals, then you are not gonna tell them where the closest McDonald's is, right?
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it as I like to think of it as like there's almost 3 different tiers of properties. So you have kind of like your budget friendly, cheaper price, bare bones type of property. Then you kind of have the next level up, which is a nice property, and then you kind of have like the Ritz, right? Like of like the cream of the crop. So I feel like there's almost different levels like that. That's why the Ritz is the Ritz, because they put in that little those extra touches. So for somebody kind of in that midpoint, what I'm getting from our conversation is really thinking through that customer experience and what do you want them to feel. And I'm big on really like know who you serve, first of all. So like we like to serve a lot of families and couples, right? So like we'll put out little microwavable chocolate treats for the kids, and then we'll leave out a bottle of wine and say, here's, when the munchkins fall asleep, enjoy this glass of wine on us, or whatever. And
that's great. Yeah.
So thinking about putting the other pieces that I wasn't thinking of, like the smells and things. So like we have a place in What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I am your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. How you doing, E?
My brother, I am so excited for this episode. It is kind of different for me because these are people from my past. Like, I don't know. This is the first time that my real estate American life meets my kid from Sardinia, spending every summer in the same spot all together since we were kids. So it's very exciting for me for these two worlds to kind of meet for the first time. So I'm super stoked. Super stoked.
This will be cool. All the way across the world, coming in from the Netherlands for this one. And this will be a fun one. So what's going on in your world before we get rolling?
Oh man, my world is we're getting ready to gear up for season. So luckily those reservations starting to come in. But I mean, it's kind of obvious now, right? Like the world is still experiencing COVID. They're in the Netherlands, so they're experiencing COVID now over there too. So like restrictions are happening again. So people are like, well, if it's going to be COVID everywhere, then I might as well go to Florida. So I think we're going to have a really, really, really strong winter. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that will also help with my refi process. Is once we start getting those seasonal bookings in the books, it's going to make a big difference overall to how our financial look and how we're looking from a bank.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I mentioned last week that we launched a new unit which is going well, booking up really well. And I'm actually analyzing another hotel deal up in New Hampshire, which I'm excited about. We had offered on it a couple months ago, and bottom line, offer didn't get accepted. We said, okay, that's fine. Then they just called us back last week and dropped the price, not to what our original asking was, a little more. So we'll see if there's any room for negotiation. And just running through those numbers, could be another exciting project over the winter this year. And would add another 16 doors to the portfolio. So that would be
nice.
Cool. So
it's always good when somebody else calls you, right? When they're like, hey, you always feel better. You know what I mean? When you're not the one looking for somebody and they come looking for you, you're like, okay, I have some power now because it's a completely different situation. And they probably did not adjust as well as you did. So it's very, very interesting to see that afterwards they're hurting right now, probably, right? Like, I mean, we never hope it for anybody, but it's kind of the reality of what's happening in our business.
Yeah, that's it. And a lot of people think that it's taking advantage of somebody or whatever. And that's really not the case. You know, depending on whatever situation somebody's in, you come in, you acquire the property for whatever the numbers make sense for you, and you're getting them out of a deal that's going to start losing them money if they don't have the capital to do what they need to do. So you just real estate is all about creating win-win situations. So if you want to come in and play the shark game, that'll get you to certain places, but it's only going to get you so far. And I believe in karma. So I always look for creating win-wins. But anyway, today we have two very special guests coming in from the Netherlands and from Emmanuel's blast from the past. Today we have
Emmanuel's past.
Antonio and Dominique. They have a different backstory than a lot of our guests. So they are involved in hospitality on various fronts. Together, they own Guestxinside. It's a company that focuses on the psychological aspects of the customer and guest journey. They inspire brands to be memorable, creating profitable customer journeys and training their staff accordingly. Antonio also owns an Italian restaurant with his brother in the Netherlands. So without further ado, Antonio and Dominique, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. What an introduction.
Yeah, we're excited to have you guys. So why don't you kind of take us back and walk us through your journey of how you got into this hospitality business and this, you know, this customer experience type of unique niche that you're in.
Ciao, Mike, and ciao, fratello, Emanuele. How are you?
Awesome, man.
And yeah, great, man. Great to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the show and having Dominique as well. So yeah, we started with the idea of starting the company actually right after university. And it was like 10 years ago. And we said, yeah, we were visiting hotels and restaurants and we were saying, yeah, man, there are so many things that can go better, but who is going to listen to graduates? Actually, you are in your early 20s and no one is taking any word from you, right? When you come in and you say, okay, you guys really should focus on this or on that. And I mean, there are margins of improvements here and there. So then actually, you know, we left the idea behind and we said, okay, we need to do some more experience in the hospitality field ourselves. So Dominique just started with her career entering hotels and she did well on various management positions. And me, I decided to open an Italian restaurant. So I said, actually, if you guys don't believe me and you don't believe the way that I think about hospitality will bring you further, let me open a restaurant myself. And then, of course, what happens is that people come into your restaurant and it's a huge Italian restaurant. We have like 120 seats. And the first thing that people say, this guy is crazy, he's 22. And he opens this huge restaurant with his brother. He won't last even 6 months.
It was 2008, so it was the economic crisis. So people said you were crazy. Yeah.
Anyhow, okay, the restaurant took off very well. Actually, we are still in business. Things are growing great. Then about 4 years ago, we started again with the idea that we had back in, just after university and said to ourselves, okay, we still like this this concept of analyzing the way experiences are being dealt with in hospitality, right? So just to get out of the tunnel vision of having your own restaurant, I just wanted to go outside and see, okay, what is happening in the field, what is changing, and Dominique had the same feeling. So yeah, we started to get back to school and just to read as many books as we could on hospitality and actually the psychological aspects behind it, what is involved in the decision making of a guest. Think about the emotions that are involved, not only what the guests want to achieve, but also what he feels, why he wants to achieve something. And you can think about, yeah, when you enter, for example, property, even if I have to take an example on your side, you are in the Airbnb short rental business. So I'm entering your property and I'm a guest and I'm about to enter your property and I'm opening the door, but I find garbage next to the door. What does it mean to me on the emotional aspect? Even if the property is really nice inside, once you're inside, you already step inside the property with a different feeling, right? So yeah, we started with playing with this idea. What emotions actually do to you during an experience, and then we managed to discuss our ideas with a professor at the Hotel School of Lausanne, and he helped us with to elaborate these ideas in a better way and funding them on a research basis. And that's how we started our company. And our main values are right now to create actually memorable customer, or in this case, guest journeys. And I always say they need to be profitable for the guest in terms of adding value. And they also have to add value for the investor in this case, or property owner, or hotel manager, or restaurant owner. In terms of profitability, right? How do you do this? How do you find the extra value? And the extra value, you find the extra value by actually building or developing or improving a customer journey, which we call guest journey, because we believe in guests in our industry, not about customers. Slightly different word, but it means to the world. Mm-hmm. So when you, for example, enter a hotel and they give you this bottle of wine in the room, and it's like 9 a.m. in the morning, and they offered you the early check-in, right? So you enter your hotel room and you find this bottle of red wine. You might wanna think, that's a great gesture, but in the end, it is not value added, right? Because you are coming in early morning.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add value. So I'm only saying what we see, for example, in many cases, is that people are just doing the wrong investment, not adding value to the guest experience in this case.
I think that's a very important point when it comes to Airbnbs, right? Because I think you have limited resources because you're a single person a lot of the time, right? So you're not a company. So a big hotel can afford to roll out, let's say everybody gets a bottle of wine, and it's not as expensive for them, right? But you as a Airbnb host, especially if you don't have a lot of units, you don't have a lot of money. So what I think it's important from what Antonio is kind of talking about is spend your money according to making the guest experience better, and not necessarily what you think you will like, right? Because like maybe you're very unique, like you want like cupcakes from the corner store that you like, maybe the next person doesn't like that, right? So what is something that you can spend your money on to improve on the guest experience, as Antonio was saying. And I love that you guys call them guests, because I mean, we do the same thing, right? Even when we talk to an AC company that goes, all the people that service our properties, they know them like the guest is there, right? So we don't call them tenants, even if there could technically be tenants, right? We always refer to them as guests. I was telling Mike, Anto, that we had talked about this, because Mike, what's funny is when me and Antonio, we met, he came here at the beginning of the year and we went to a restaurant, and Antonio and I have this dream that we want to open a restaurant together here in Florida. And we went to the restaurant, and literally we spent the entire night pretty much being like, yeah, this could be better, or that could be better, or this could be better, right? Yeah. And Anto, you share with me that there is particular smells, because we had another guest on the podcast just now that talked about the smells that he uses. So you had told me about this thing about particular smells that help you make people feel in a certain way. So what smells would you use? Like if you had a Airbnb and you want somebody to walk in and feel like at home, what are some smells that you could like use that would help kind of enhance the guest experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Actually, I really want to bring you back for a second, just to help the listeners to understand why smell is so important, right? Smell is important because it adds to create a memorable moment. And it is not only the smell that's important, actually it's the 5 senses that play a big role when people start to make memory of an experience. And we talked about like 1 month ago, and the thing that you told me was, 1 year ago I went back to Sardinia. And you told me about how you slept like a baby in Sardinia, right? In Italy, back in Italy.
Yeah.
And you told me one thing of all your vacation. You could have told me anything about the food, about the beach, about the sun, the heat, whatever. What you told me was, I still remember the smell of the pine trees in the morning.
Yeah.
So smell is really, really strong. So to come back to your question, what type of smell you would expect, for example, in your Airbnb, is strongly dependent on the location and the destination as well.
Very interesting.
So I can tell you the thing about our company is that I cannot tell you, for example, you have to put roses smell in your accommodation, because it doesn't. It is not true for everybody. I mean, in the place where you were, you probably expected a pine tree smell or beach or whatever, but probably if I'm in the mountains and in another type of place, I might want another type of smell. And it's even the type of Airbnb or property that you have, which characterize the smell choice.
So like the level, like the level of property, like a luxurious property versus
the luxurious
like
property. A cabin.
Like in, for example, in many luxurious hotels, you smell lemongrass. We've seen them in Miami, in Dubai. They all had lemongrass. I think lemongrass is like, it's the same as luxury.
Yeah, it's luxury, but it also lemongrass is also related to freshness and cleanness, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
So just it is not that difficult to understand, and asking yourself, okay, which smell would I wanna?
Which emotion do I want to evoke?
That's the question. That's the question.
It's
not the smell that you have to ask. Okay, I like roses. No, it's not. I like roses. That's not about pines. It's about really, really good what Dominique is saying right now. It's about the emotion that we want to evoke.
So is there like a framework that we could use that like you guys use when you're consulting with a hotel or a restaurant? What is kind of the framework? What are the components? So there's, like you said, the 5 senses. So if we just took as an example, let's say, I don't know, a 2-bedroom house on the beach in Florida.
Yeah.
Right. And we want to create an experience for people to feel like they're on vacation at the beach. just a hypothetical, right? So what would be some of the elements that you would look for to create that type of experience? And let's just say that we cater to families and couples that are going away on a either a family vacation or a couples retreat.
So you just wanna hear the smells, right?
Well, I'm thinking like overall framework of like what components would be involved.
What components be involved? Well, the components that should be involved, first of all, is that at least 3 of the 5 senses should be involved.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to have, I always put in smell, because smell is so strong. Once you have smelled something, you will never forget it all your life. I still know how the smell of the coffee is at my uncle's place back in Italy. You know, coffee smells everywhere the same, but there it smells differently. So smell is really, really strong. Then I really put in touch. It's a tricky one, especially now. So just leave the touch. Then I will put in sight and hearing. So we have smell, sight, and hearing. So if we take Emmanuel as an example in this case, which is really straightforward, he was smelling the pine trees. He was probably hearing the sea or the wind in the trees, right? And he was probably seeing an outside nice area or sunshine or whatever. Okay, so what can you do in your property to evoke that emotion or that goes along with a vacation feeling, tranquility, laid back? Yes, I'm out there, right? What can I bring in the property? That's actually what you're asking, you know. So what you should think about is, okay, fresh smell, fresh and soft, I would say. Fresh because it revitalizes you, and you know, people go to the beach just to relax, but also to recharge.
You can just buy the smell. It's called sea breeze. Just put them in some diffusers, and you have the perfect smell. It's not that difficult.
It's not that difficult. People just don't think about it.
No.
Exactly.
It is called science, but it's not that high science. No. It is really straightforward. And then you can play with the colors in the room just to enhance it. So if you choose the color of the paint, for example, even the position of your furniture plays a big role.
Take outside in. It's the beach. People want to experience the nature. So take nature inside.
With the colors that you use.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Makes sense. So what's funny is
that like a pale blue or like a turquoisey type of color with like some whites and some woods or whatever.
Yeah. Correct.
And then, if I might, in the thing that you are creating by combining these 3 senses, considering that the overall experience is fine, right? Everything is going well. You haven't built yet a great moment in the guest experience. The guest is just fine right now. The property is around the 7 or 8, right? People are happy, and you add this well thought moment that you want to create for them. So what you are doing by introducing these senses, or actually the stimulus of the senses, just to evoke a certain emotion, is that you're trying to create a peak moment for them, right? And this is a powerful aspect that we always consider when we create or develop guest journeys. What a researcher, a psychologist, has discovered, his name is Daniel Kahneman, he discovered that actually people tend to remember just the peak moment and the end of an experience. What usually happens actually in the restaurant world, in hospitality in general, is that at the beginning of the experience, it's overwhelming. So you enter a hotel room and people just promise you the world. They give you everything. If you are on a honeymoon, you will find
rose petals,
a pie, or whatever, and they call you by name and everything. And what happens is that by the end of your journey, not in all cases, but in most cases, they don't even know who you are anymore. So people tend just to put everything at the beginning. And that's also a risk that can occur in the Airbnb, right? And even in the short-term rental. So if you start from this proven research that people just remember the peak and the end of an experience, you probably also agree with the fact that the experience should be good enough for most of the time and exceptional just occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end,
wow. Say that again. I think that's important for people to understand, right? Because I think if you're trying to create an exceptional experience 100% of the time, you're gonna create unrealistic kind of pressure also on yourself as a host, as an operator of any business, right? Like, it's just as in life, right? If you're trying to be 100% perfect at home with your family, with your wife, with your friends, at work, it doesn't really work. But also now with the science that Antonio brought, you realize that you don't even really need to, because people don't really remember all of it anyways.
And it's a proven science, because they asked people at Disney. I mean, Disney is the example of making a memorable experience. They asked people 6 weeks after their stay, what do you remember of your stay at Disney? And everybody answered, I remember Space Mountain and the Minnie Mouse ears. So they remember just one peak moment, and they remember the end of the trip.
Yeah, because they buy the Minnie Mouse ears when they leave the park.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. So I'm wondering, I was thinking as you guys were talking about that, because like typically we put out some type of welcome gift for our guests at our properties.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, it got me thinking of, to create something memorable, something different. What if I almost hid something somewhere else and left like a note on the nightstand, like, hey, by the way, there's this cool thing somewhere in this nightstand or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wow. Like that was, I don't know, just something different that didn't hit them right at the beginning. But like, as they laid down that first night, they were like, oh, wow, that was like really cool.
Yeah.
Just something different, not at the beginning.
Yeah. Or even just kind of move one of those gifts, right? Like one of those things that you put at the beginning. What if you had it dropped off in the middle of their stay, right? Mm-hmm. So like randomly, like a bottle of wine, you know?
Yeah. What I find powerful about this is that, and I don't want to scare you, is that how can you give a gift to a person that you don't know yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like when you are starting in a relationship and you're bringing red roses to your new friend, fiance, or whatever, and she's allergic for it, or she doesn't like the red roses, right? So it's much wiser, for example, to write a personal note at the beginning. So then you create, through personalization, you create already a connection, this welcoming feeling. And if you have done your homework before, then you might know some preferences of your guests, right? You can look them up on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or whatever. So
it's happening.
It's happening.
Guys, keeping it very PG. Like, do not go down rabbit holes and find out everything about your guests and then write on the note, "Hey, I saw you had this shirt on the picture of your Facebook, so I found it for you."
No, not really in that case.
Creepy.
But for instance, what if someone is a big fan of a certain sport team, and you know the game is on that night? Just leave him a note and write thing. It means more than a bottle of wine that he might not even like.
I think the difference with hotels and Airbnb is that, like hotels, it's much easier because you have the frontline employee that has really the chance to talk with the guests, like, hi, where are you from? How was your journey? So it's much easier to get information and then to act on that information. As Airbnb normally, or you just hand over a key, or they pick up the key in a place and you don't have any contact. So it's never strange to like literally ask, like, how are you doing? What do you expect of your stay? And they will give you some details. They don't even notice that they are just giving away what they need. But here comes our work. We train the people to like read the guests and to just find, like, look at little details, like how they move their head, how they move their arms. Are they unsure? Are they happy? Did they have a long trip and are they really tired? Like, if you have these small details you can find out, then you can act on that. Like, for example, you just give a call to the person that arrived. There is a place to pick up the key, but you're not there. Just give them a call. How was your journey? Oh, it was so exhausting. We had a 6-hour delay. Then you know how to act. Then you rush to the, I don't know, supermarket. You get them you go to the good Italian restaurant. You order a takeaway for them, and you bring it to their apartment, or you offer them there's a massage available in 1 hour. Would you like me to book it for you? It's in the small details, and then you act on that, and then your guest will be really surprised. Like, how does he know that I'm so tired? Well, you said it, and he could hear it on your voice, or that's so important.
And if I can add something on that, it's like, and that maybe is a tip for any short-term rental owner or Airbnb guy in this case. If you build your properties in such a way that you attract like-minded people to yourself, then you also know what he or she will expect, or what he or she will like or dislike, right? And you can play with it when you set up your property. So you can say, okay, I set up a property, it's just to make money, and that's one way to think about it. Of course, we want as much profit as possible, but if you then start building it in such a way that it suits your lifestyle as well, then you know, okay, if those guys are a bit like me, they probably would need this at that moment of their stay, or they like to be I don't know, they don't like to be disturbed at a certain moment of the day, or they want some recommendation of this type and that type of restaurant, right? I mean, if you build a property which is on the high end side of the short-term rentals, then you are not gonna tell them where the closest McDonald's is, right?
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it as, I like to think of it as like there's almost 3 different tiers of properties. So you have kind of like your budget friendly, cheaper price, bare bones type of property. Then you kind of have the next level up, which is a nice property. And then you kind of have like the Ritz, right? Like of like the cream of the crop. So I feel like there's almost different levels like that. That's why the Ritz is the Ritz, because they put in that little, those extra touches. So for somebody kind of in that midpoint, what I'm getting from our conversation is really thinking through that customer experience and what do you want them to feel? And I'm big on really like know who you serve, first of all. So like we like to serve a lot of families and couples, right? So like we'll put out little microwavable chocolate treats for the kids, and then we'll leave out a bottle of wine and say, here's, when the munchkins fall asleep, enjoy this glass of wine on us, or whatever. And
that's great. Yeah.
So thinking about putting the other pieces that I wasn't thinking of, like the smells and things. So like we have a place in New Hampshire up in the mountains. So I'm thinking, okay, I can get some type of pine or fire smelling candles or air fresheners. And then we use a lot of really soft and furry blankets that kind of give you that like Scandinavian feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just some of the different like pieces that we put in there combined with that little welcome gift just kind of seals that whole experience.
Yeah. So what you're actually building, you're not building you're building an experience, but you're building also a story. Yeah. And the human mind is built to accept story easy. Right, even when you tell something to a person and you want to explain something, I still remember my history teacher at school. She was great because she taught history in a storytelling way. So what you are doing is actually great, Mike.
Like in ending this story, because you're telling about the apartment you have, like for example, if people come home, write a card, spray the perfume you had in the home on the card, and then send it to him. So as soon as they open this handwritten note from you, I hope you enjoyed your stay, welcome home, and hope to see you again, and they get this smell, the story is complete.
That is
gold. That's amazing.
Right, I want everybody to write that down, and I am totally going to start doing that, because
do it.
I had a conversation with somebody about this the other day, and I was actually on a walk this morning. I like to walk around this golf course near me, and the smell of the leaves turning, it brought me right back to when I was 10 years old, playing outside, making scarecrows and things around Halloween. And it instantly, that scent of smell brought me right back. And it's so true that I want to start leveraging that more, because I put air fresheners in, but I haven't consciously thought about what fragrance ties that in to then also tie into the toiletry kits that we use. Do the smells, is it a continuous experience of like that feeling in that property?
Yeah, and then you want to go back because you want to experience it again. It's in our nature that you want to have like positive emotions all the time. So if you have this positive emotion with your apartment, then you think, like for example, you smell it again, it's turning autumn, winter, you think like, oh, this was his apartment, let's go back. It's you can program it in someone's head, right?
Yeah. What Dominique is saying, if you have a positive emotion, you want more of that emotion, right? And you will do anything to achieve more. And to have more of it. It's like when you receive love, right? And your love is returned back, and you just want more of it. And people, when they visit your accommodation, it's the same. Make sure they want more of it. Make sure they fall in love with your property. Make sure they fall in love with you. Not literally. Well, even I mean,
even better. Like if they fall in love with you, they'll keep coming back.
They keep coming back. The thing is, if people fall in love with you, they accept the little errors. Right? We can forgive. Most people are, they're ready to forgive you unless we have a relationship. That's the basis, right?
Yeah. So I would like to touch on something that Dominique kind of brought up very fast. That is, you also help brands kind of train their people in recognizing, right? And I think a lot of Airbnb hosts, because I know this with myself in my own personal journey, is I am excellent on the one-to-one. So then as I had to grow, I had to find another me. And I know Mike is going through that moment now too, that he's growing and trying to find another him. So what are some things that you've seen help people kind of like teach that level of customer care? Because it is customer service, but to me it's more like customer care, because what you're really teaching somebody is how do you care about somebody past the point of him being just a customer, right? So you're teaching that. So if you are not naturally, and you're like, okay, I want to teach it to somebody and train somebody, what are some things that people should really like kind of concentrate on?
For you, it's really easy because you're Italian, so it's in your nature.
Yes,
that's what true. We see. We see in the southern cultures, people are more authentic. And guests, they always have a warm feeling when they visit hotels and restaurants in the south of Europe, because that's the first thing. People use their hands, and that's really like using your hands.
Enforces what you say.
Enforce what you say.
And then it welcomes also people. So if I can hang on that, you have to consider not only what you say verbally, but also what you do non-verbally. And that's the main thing, is that if you come from the north, you're not so used to to
keep your hands out of your pockets.
yeah. And you could use your hands, right? And coming to the South, you're already, it's a natural thing, cultural related. But still, you can train it. That's the most important thing, you know. And so be aware that there is a non-verbal cluster that actually you can use. And that means if you want to make somebody feel welcome in person, you probably want to show openness, right? So how do you do it? You can say, hey, you're welcome. But if you add your non-verbal communication with showing, for example, the palm of your hands and smiling, which is of course not a new one, but usually we always say don't, even if it's not possible now because you know we have this social distance, usually try to remove any barriers, you know, between you and your guest. And this can be yourself closing, for example, this. You can have everything closed, even your legs crossed, whatever. Open up everything. So what you are saying with, for example, opening your palm of your hands and, you know, using large gestures, you're saying, you know, you can trust me. I have nothing to hide. And the subconscious mind of the person in front of you will automatically say, I can trust this person. I feel, what do you feel? Welcome. You know, now we can start talking. Now we can build a relationship, and I'm ready to accept what he or she is saying and telling to me. So be aware of that. And yeah, you have several YouTube videos just explaining what nonverbal communication is, and how you can actually train yourself, you know, just to slightly improve. It's not that if you're not used to use your hands with big gestures to in everyday life, you can still learn, you know, just try it every day. For example, what I teach here, my own staff, is that when people come in and they're about 16 or 17, 18 years old and it's their first job, they usually not indicate a table to a guest with closed hand, you know, like this, but they used to point, and I'm pointing my finger now for the ones just listening. The human mind is not really happy with accepting the pointing finger. If I do this and you look at the camera, it's like you have to do this, this, and this.
Yeah, go and sit there.
Go and sit there. You don't accept it in a positive way. You do it because you have to. But if I do it like this, please, can you sit here? And if you have the chance to watch the video, just look at it and you will see the difference. So it is all this kind of small tricks that you can teach yourself that might help people to feel more welcome. And there are also a couple of tricks, because I heard you in the previous podcast saying, okay, I'm not really meeting always with the guest, or there's not a real person, you know, you're receiving the guest. We are doing digital check-in and whatever. You can do a lot with pictures as well. Make sure, for example, that in the photo of yourself that you are sending when you want to receive a guest or whatever, that your eyes are really clear and visible, that you smile, that you have this open posture. For example, you two guys, when you are in the headshot that you have of the show, you have your arms crossed, right? And that's a perfect that's a perfect way of saying, okay, guys, you know, we are the ones that are here, the ones that know,
have the expertise.
that have the expertise, right? Yeah. So you want to be a bit more confident. So that's a way of saying, okay, I'm confident, right? So it's actually a thing that you already naturally do, but if you are aware of it, then you can start playing with it, and then you can use it to add value.
And frontline staff can read the guests through this way. You can see if someone's insecure. You can see if someone's not comfortable in a situation. So that's what most companies forget. They have this whole checklist for frontline staff just to check if they had done other procedures, like open the door. Okay, you can open the door for your guests, but if your posture is like closed, if you're looking down and saying, hi, welcome, then it's, yeah, you opened the door, but it's not the experience. So we slightly noticed that companies think it's worth the investments to do this non-verbal communication training. But still, many companies think that just the checklist, if the frontline staff does all the procedures of check-in, then it's fine. But it's not actually. Yeah.
So how do you guys see this? So the reality of the time that we live now, I think also for hotels, most of them are gonna go to remote check-in, right? So how is the industry going to kind of get these cues from people in a world that is now social distancing? Like how can we, like, is there like patterning in the language that they use when they send messages? Like how can people like understand, kind of get the same information without seeing somebody in person? Because who knows, right? Like maybe hotels will never have that front person.
I think that we as a human can make the difference. We cannot be replaced by computers or I genuinely think that to create like this really personal experience, you need a person in front of you. You need to hear the voice. You need to see the gestures. But
so
even now,
a lot of folks on, just as Airbnb in particular, a lot of folks don't get the chance to do that personal interaction. I know I don't, because I have properties all over the country. So what could we do in the messaging or different things in the listing that maybe we haven't talked about yet that could create that personal touch to just show that we care when we can't be there?
Well, for example, make a welcome video and send it the day before your guests is traveling to your apartment. Pictures, make sure they see the face behind the apartment to like begin the relationship.
What is maybe important, make this video while you're in the apartment or in front of the apartment that they are gonna stay in.
So they
in front of the property. So what you're gonna say with this message is, okay, this guy is really managing this place. He owns or whatever this place. So it's also a moment of building trust. It is
not they kind of see you and they see you in the same place and they go there.
Then they go there and then you start with, they go there with confidence, right? Okay, Mike has been there or Manu's been there. It's real. This is real. People, just want to see that the thing is real. They want to see that you are real as a person, that you are there, that you are authentic.
I think that's the main reason why people book Airbnb instead of this not personal big hotel chain, because they know there's one owner that is probably taking good care of his accommodation. And like if you're showing that to them, then
make sure they should never have the doubt that you are a robot, right? Make sure that they should have the feeling that they are dealing with a human being. And that's always a thing that I say to people before a person is a guest, a customer, whatever you want to call them. We are all human beings. And if you start from that principle, then you start right on the right foot. So show them any way you can by making sure that you are reachable anytime via WhatsApp, for example, and by any channel. And Dominique added a great example of saying, okay, just make this welcome video. And then you have to make sure that this welcome video is not the same when they return back. So not twice the same welcome video to the same person.
That's smart.
I mean, they can. Then they see that you have been there again. So what you are saying, if you have been there again, he checked it again. He checked it, especially for me.
You know what the thing with hospitality is? It's not very difficult, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work,
If you want to do it right, if you want to give everybody a personalized experience, it's just a lot of work. But it's fun because you're in the business because you like it. So
that's awesome.
And then I can add this thing, like you have to use the name of the guest. Always say the name and try to break the bridge from formality to informality. I always say the biggest deals in life are made when you are on the informal level with someone, not the formal level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're like, when you're in that conversation of just kind of being friends and writing things on the napkins, right? I think that's why that happens.
That's
so
what
guys,
happened.
I want to be respectful of your time. Where can people kind of find out more about the company and like your thoughts and kind of get in touch with you guys?
Well, the company, we have a website. You can find us on guestxinside.com. And the other way best to find us is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We are with the company around LinkedIn, Guestxinside. And my name is Antonio Pibia.
My name, it's difficult. It's Dutch. It's Dominique de Groot, but I'm on the Guestxinside LinkedIn page as well. So you can find us there. That's easier.
Yeah, perfect. Because that spelling will never work.
Yeah, no.
And then we asked the same question to all of our guests. Yours is going to be a little bit different, but what would you say is your number one secret to being successful in the hospitality industry?
For sure, be authentic. Authenticity is so important.
Honesty and simplicity.
Yeah.
And then I have an exercise for everyone listening to this, and hotels do it so many times, is have someone walk through your experience. So have someone with a trained eye just go through your experience and ask him not only what he did or what he wanted to achieve or how his holiday, but ask him specifically about the emotions involved. Because that's a gap that you really can add value for your guests, right? The thing is, if you do it yourself, you will never see it from a different perspective. So always have someone walk through the experience. If you want, you can just hire a consultant, but in these times, you can also ask a good friend. I'm not here to promote myself. I always say, we always want the best for everyone, and hospitality especially. Ask a good friend, who has a certain expertise, of course, not the guy that's always hanging out in the bar. Ask a good, reliable friend and just ask him, okay, go through it. And
what do you feel?
What do you feel? And if you have to tell me that my baby is ugly, please tell me. It won't be that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a tip that I really would leave to you.
I love that. I know we always recommend students, before you launch a new property, stay in the property.
Yeah. Also
spend a night, test everything. And I like having somebody else go through it and asking them. I think my big takeaway is focusing more on how you make people feel, not just the experience. Because when you focus on feeling, you start to get different ideas from the senses, the smell, the sight, the touch, all those different components are all integral. So this was really eye-opening for me. I really appreciate you guys being here. This was super valuable. And I hope to have you guys back on. And I, at some point, would love to get over there and test out your restaurant and come hang with you guys. So thank you guys again.
You are welcome. Thank you so much.
Grazie.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, grazie mille. I mean, it was a pleasure. We're so excited to be here. We are talking.
He's been following your show for a long time already. So.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
well, thank you guys again. It was awesome meeting you guys.
Thanks,
we'll definitely stay connected and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.